try and remake it. So we're going to do that today. Having said that, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, to our Indian friends and viewers out there, I don't really have the resources and background to make it really authentic, so please be easy on me. And secondly, it's not a throw-together recipe. It's a recipe that involves a bit of a process. Not that complicated though, but it will take some time. But it's a recipe everybody should make, so take a Saturday, grab up some spices, and give it a try. So let me walk you through it. First up, we're going to soak 2 cups of basmati rice in some water. Now I really like the basmati because it has a nice aroma to it and it's very aromatic, but if you don't have it, you can use any kind of rice. So we're going to set this aside and let it soak for about 20 minutes. Okay guys, now our rice is soaking, we're going to move on to the second step, which is marinating the chicken. So let's get going. What I've got here are about 9 chicken thighs, and you can use any part basically. Boneless skinless chicken breasts are really nice too. Now we're going to add in half a cup of plain yogurt, a medium-sized chopped tomato. Some people don't add this, but I find the acidity from the tomatoes really cuts back on the extreme spices. 4 cloves of crushed garlic, one of my all-time favorite spices. 2 thumb-sized crushed ginger. A tablespoon of lemon juice. Now for the spices that really make the dish. Some salt and pepper, of course. 2 teaspoons of cumin. 2 teaspoons of turmeric. 2 teaspoons of masala powder. So these are the very basic spices. You can add more or less if you wish, or you can buy the pouch of biryani mix, which is really handy. You can find that most grocery stores. If you're really going to get into cooking, what I'd suggest is you go to the bulk food store and buy a bunch of spices. And I'll post something on our website of the world's, most common spices. Get some bottles and get a nice little spice rack. You'll find it really handy. So we're going to add these simply delightful spices into the bowl, followed by a drizzle of olive oil. This ever smell good, guys. And grab up my spoon and just mix these all together. I wish you were here to smell this. It smells so good. Now I'm just going to cover this with some cling wrap and slip it in the fridge to marinate for about 20 or 30 minutes. But if you have time, leave it overnight. The longer the better. Let the spices get into that meat and break it down. Third step, we're going to chop up an onion. I'm using a red onion here, but you can use white, whatever you like. And I don't know, I've heard of 1,000 tricks not to let your eyes water, but mine water every time. It makes me think, this poor onion. I'm going to try swimming goggles. Now we're going to add some oil into a pan. Onions in. And we're going to fry these over medium-high heat, just to the point where they're crispy and golden brown. Now you can do the caramelization thing too, but that takes a while. What you want is a texture something like this, nice and golden brown. So we're just going to go ahead and set these aside in a bowl. And this whole process has been about, I'd say 10 or 12 minutes. Where if you really want to caramelize them, it's a good 30 minutes. And maybe I'll do a video on that. Next step is our saffron mixture. And I've got about, I'd say 2 pinches of it. It's interesting, I'm going to add this to about 3 tablespoons of warm milk, but it's interesting that in some countries this is really cheap, but in Canada here it's like gold. I'm just going to take my spoon and give it a mix up, and this is going to turn to a nice orangey color. Next up, we're going to add our chicken to a fairly large pot. And man, oh man, I think this is going to be so good. And you just kind of want it evenly layered on the bottom of the pot. Now I'm going to cover it, slip this onto the stove, and we're going to bring this to a boil over high heat. Now we've got a nice boil happening. I'm going to reduce the heat to medium, and we're going to allow this to cook until the chicken is done. My goodness, guys, this smells so incredible. I'll send you something. Can you get that through the camera there? Delicious. After about 20 minutes, our chicken is nicely done. So I'm just going to kill the heat and set it aside. Now the chicken is done, it's time to cook the rice. What What you want here is a pot of boiling water, and I'm going to season this up with a pouch of chicken bouillon, a little bit of salt, and I'd say about 3 bay leaves. Now you can season this whatever you like. You know, I've seen people use cloves and stuff, but we're just trying to make it simple. But you know, use the spices of your choice. Add the rice in. And you want to cook this for about 3 minutes, just to the point where it's about 70% cooked. Otherwise it's way too mushy. After about 3 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and remove the rice and put it into a strainer. And this is about perfect here. This is about 70%. I'm just giving it a little taste test, and you can just taste a little bit of crunchiness to it. Okay guys, now we've finally got everything all cooked up here. It's time to build our biryani. What we're going to do first is layer the rice over top of the chicken. And you want it fairly evenly distributed here. This is pretty good, just like this. And next are onions. These onions are so good. Drizzle our saffron infusion over the top. Some mint. I'm just kind of ripping this off and throwing it in type of thing. Doesn't this look good? And last but not least, some coriander. This really adds that nice freshness to the dish. Something like that. Now we're going to slip the lid back on and simmer it again on low heat for about another 10 minutes. After about 10 minutes, let's pull the lid and have a peek inside. And there you have it guys, our chicken biryani. Just look at this. Layers of goodness. Now let's plate this up, and I'm really excited to dig in. Okay, so let's give this a taste test. I've waited a long time for this. This is so good, guys. The chicken is juicy. The spices come together beautifully. Love the rice, everything, the carrot, the onions, everything. I have to tell you, if there ever was a food heaven, this is part of it. You gotta try.